So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes, their challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this afternoon, I'm delighted to have with us Jon Wakeman, who's founder and artistic director at East Street Arts. So, Jon, thank you for spending a bit of time. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, East Street Arts, what you do, how you help people, that would be wonderful.
I will do, Chris. That's great. Thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome.
Just one slight correction. I'm one of the co-founders, so that's that, and I think that's a really important thing just to even start off with.
Yes,
We'll run through the theme of the whole thing because I didn't do this alone, and
yes,
where I've got today with East Street Arts, and it was me and my partner Karen Watson, who actually set it up and started it. So.
yep,
It's and we are we're a visual arts charity. We're here in Leeds. Well, this is our home base, as it were, and we've been around for 30 years, 30 years plus. Karen herself has now stepped back from the organisation in the last couple of years. She reached 30, and then right, I'm going to go and do some other interesting things,
brilliant.
and and has left me holding the reins, as it were, and. It's it's been quite a journey and to reach this point, and we neither of us were from Leeds. We were from Karen was from Fitzwilliam mining village, other side of Wakey, and I'm from York, and we're from, fairly normal backgrounds. Her dad was a miner, uh,
Yeah,
made redundant. My dad was a teacher, my mum was a social worker, middle class, working class. So, but I think we've both come from very community orientated families. Mine was a Quaker family, so there's quite a network and that. And Karen's was like a small village, mining
yeah.
village, sense of community there. So those two things have kind of really been quite important to us in us coming forward.
Brilliant. And so tell us a bit more about how you got together and built what you have now.
Yeah, I met Karen at college when I was at college in Harrogate doing ceramics, and that's a whole nother story. We might come on to that how I ended up there, but that's another thing. And and she was the technician, and she got a job there as technician, and we sort of hit it off. And then I went off to Sunderland, did glass and ceramics. She came up there, did a year with us, and we then moved back to Leeds, families around there. So it was just important. It was interesting. It was interesting coming back to a place neither of us really were from, but we
Yeah.
both knew. It
Yes.
was it was the big city. It was like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was, hey, let's go and see what we can do there. And that was the kind of start of that. And coming back, we came back, done ceramics. Karen was ceramics trained as well. So we're both ceramics trained. And it was about coming back and setting up wanting to set up a place that I think we wanted to have our own place to work and make things. And we had to look at artist studios because that's what you're meant to do. No idea what we're meant to do, really. Thought that might be it. And in the end, with sort of £600, we put down a kind of 3 months rent on 2,000 square foot in a mill in
Right.
Leeds, East Street Mills,
Yep.
hence East Street Arts. With
Yep.
we, says what it is in the tin, kind of,
Yep.
and then kind of began, and that was really the starting point.
And that was how long ago?
That was in 1993. So yeah,
1993. Wow.
yeah.
So
So it's 30 plus years, 30 whatever we are now, 30, coming into 33 years or something. Yeah.
amazing. So what are some of the milestones you remember over those 32 years? The sort of highlights, if you would.
Um, God, it's been quite. I think the big ones are, you know, we we grew in that mill, started off with 2,000 square foot, and we were up to sort of 50,000 square foot by the time we finished because we just carried on expanding across the mill.
50,000.
Because was it? So it might not be that much, but
It's
it
a
was a
lot.
lot. It was a lot
I
of it
mean,
was the whole of the top.
2,000. Yeah, 2,000 is quite a lot,
So
isn't it? But
yeah, it was probably actually it wasn't 20,000. That's
yeah,
20,000 square foot. So it was a big space
big.
because we it was there was a recession and 93 we were coming off the back of a number of downturns
Yes.
and you know manufacturing was moving out fast from city centres
Yep.
and the mill was emptying slowly and so all this space was in there that we could just move across and gradually started it was all DIY build artist studio spaces, it was your classic garret, no heating, broken windows, pigeons.
Yes.
We had the lot and it was just the way we started to build a community off the back of that. We just said, yeah, people coming in said, we'll take anyone. If you've got an arts practice, come and be with us. And people started to come. We've even we had bands practicing. So Simon from the Kaiser Chiefs was in another band at the time. He
Right.
practiced in the mill in up there with us. He
Yep.
remembers coming into the mill and practicing. So it's been something where you're like at a very early stage, and then the city centre did start to grow, and we had to move out from that, and you know, so that was kind of that's the big sort of chunk of time, and we were in there until about 2000. So it
Okay.
was 8 years we were in there, and we had to move out, and we ended up getting a looking for somewhere else to go, talking to a lot of people saying, we want to leave a legacy. It was the biggest thing to us that, we didn't want
Yep.
to just walk away from this thing we'd made happen
Yep.
and all the other projects that had gone as part of it in this community. So we wanted to find them another home for the artists that were in the space then. There must have been about 50 artists at that point.
Wow.
Um, and we ended up being introduced to an architect's firm, Bauman Lyons Architects, and they really supported us in putting in a funding application to the Arts Council for capital money.
Right.
And we were introduced to Jude Kelly and Maggie Saxon at the Playhouse in Leeds.
Yep.
And they were also super supportive. Um, and we ended up buying a building off the Playhouse, which is now Patrick Studios, because they'd bought St. Patrick's Church, the Social Club,
Right.
and the
Yep.
Presbytery House, which is right next to the A64 here in Leeds.
Yes.
Everybody knows it, who's in and around, big centre of the old Irish community here. And we bought this building for 150,000 off them, and not with no mean feat. And there was a lot of other story going on, but we raised in the end 1.5 million to buy and refurbish it back then in 2002-ish,
Right.
2000. And we didn't have jobs here at East Street Arts. It's a very different climate. You wouldn't see this happening today.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a totally different climate. And that was a super change for us coming into this building and having worked for that 7 years previously to get to that point because
Mm.
it's a lot of networking, a lot of being active, a lot of
Yeah.
going out and being involved in the city. And that's what we did. We really went and looked to gaps,
Yeah.
find the gaps for artists and art in a city. And during that period, there was a lot in Leeds and in a lot of cities across the north.
Yes.
And really, that mid to late 90s, there was a real community of arts organisations across Liverpool, Manchester, Leeds, Hull, Newcastle. We all kind of knew each other and knew each other's work that was going on, and very artist led and grassroots kind of
Brilliant.
activity. So I think that's again another critical kind of point at that time,
Yep.
having a sense of who's around you and what's going on.
Yes. It,
Yeah.
it's It's, I mean, I'm not particularly artistic or there from the artistic world, but I've spoken to quite a few people running artistic organization leads. It seems from from the interviews I've done to be a real hotbed of artistic development and innovation. Would that be right? I mean, it's sort of whether it's dance or, as you say, visual arts, etc. So much going on.
And I think, yeah, yeah, and you've touched on something there around the dance and the theatre and opera.
And the film too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
has been really big in Leeds. And when we started up, there was yeah, you've got the art gallery, and the
yeah,
Henry Moore Institute opened the year we started us up as
yeah.
well, 93, which was really good because that was a place for us to go and work, and
Brilliant.
actually have a paid job. Though I supported myself for the larger part by signing on when you could sign
Right.
on back then.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I was signing on, and
yeah,
I think that probably supported a lot of activity going on. But yeah, there wasn't a space for visual arts in the city, and that was that was a challenge. There was so you're kind of up against it a little bit
yeah.
because the perception is you're not in the right place. But turning a negative into a positive, it also meant there wasn't another really strong
Yes.
visual arts organization there. So yeah, this is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
We
brilliant.
kind of had free reign to push out into
Yeah, brilliant.
and and be a real leader in what was happening in the city.
Yeah. So looking back over that time, what are some of the biggest issues and challenges you've had to overcome, would you say?
Um, I think there's a couple of sides to it. There's always the personal side, and then there's the organizational side. I'll start on
Yes.
the organizational. I think money was always a problem.
Yeah.
We were always set up to be sort of a non-profit. That was
Yeah.
the way we were going. Became a charity sort of 98,
Yeah.
and that was it was important because it most arts organizations are charities, but it was
Yeah.
also for us a mechanism which gave us a rates rebate in terms of you're only paying 80% rate, 20% rates,
Yes.
and for commercial property, and that was important, and it made us able to take on the spaces we were taking
Great.
on
Yeah.
and rent. And so there's money's always been an issue. I mean, I was thinking about it as I was preparing for the sort of talking to you and stuff about some of these things, and 'cause at one point, because you're always chasing funding, you're chasing pots of money,
Yeah.
and it's really hard to do that. And there were little pots of money around at that time. I think it was the early days of National Lottery, and you could get grants of up to 5,000 for to run a project.
Yep.
And in the end, we had 7 bank accounts because we were and we'd set up 7 organizations'
Right.
names
Oh my
under all
goodness.
these different names
Yeah.
to go for
Brilliant.
these pots of money so we could
Brilliant.
run projects
Yep.
and actually make it a viable kind
Brilliant.
of. I always say it's just being creative. It's just being creative. And that really enabled us to do lots of things around the city and in the city centre, going in using old empty buildings, kind of almost squatting in places. We used terraced houses. We've used the upper floors, the old body shop. We were in the floors above that before it's all been gentrified now. We had exhibitions up there, you know, all sorts of places. And you're almost squatting in your city. And we learnt a lot of going in and coming out quite quickly and not having a regular home or
Yeah.
like your perceived gallery space.
Yes.
We couldn't run that. We couldn't do it because there just wasn't the money or the capital to do that or actually commit to it because it's pretty bloody hard work as well because you've got to be there and open up.
Yes.
Um, and then so that was always a challenge, the money and actually the ambition was always kind of looking to the Arts Council and wanting to get on what was then becoming a regularly funded
Yeah,
organisation,
got you.
and which has now turned into being a national portfolio organisation. And that just meant you get a regular amount of money for a set period of time
Right,
each year. So for a 3 or 4 year period, you get a regular amount of money to support you. And in the old days, you just weren't allowed, you couldn't just go and apply for it. You had to almost be selected to say you could
right.
go and be asked to be a regular funded
Yeah,
organization. So, and that's changed, you now apply. So there was that always kept you in a kind of limbo place. So you're having to earn money.
yeah,
And so everything you're doing is a part-time
yes,
job.
yeah.
Karen used to work at WH Smith's and do the early shifts
Oh,
there.
goodness.
And then afternoons, you know, some shifts at the Henry Moore Institute invigilating. It's like
Yeah,
that. And I did technician work there, um, as well as well as a couple of other places around. So it was a mixed bag as you're trying to
interesting.
grow and develop.
In-
Um, and personally, it's just the challenges are again, it's money. We have low overhead, so it's fine in that way. And you're young, you're enthusiastic. It's kind of anything's possible. And
Yeah,
it was a great network of
brilliant.
people, a great network of people. But it's hard to plan in that.
Yes,
And I don't think that's some of the stuff that in hindsight you look back and think, oh no, that was fine and it all worked out. But we weren't able to particularly plan. It was
yeah,
very hand to mouth and
yeah. Get that.
it worked out in the end. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and that's yeah. That's what, sometimes that's the thing is it works its way through, doesn't it? It's
yeah.
and and what would you say the biggest things you've learned about growing a successful organization? You know, especially around longevity. That's the 32 years is pretty exceptional, I have to say. So, what are some of the things you'd say you've learned about that growth?
Yeah, it's a lot about I think there's always that need to feel like you're coming up with something new.
Yeah,
Um, I there's the so there's actually the stuff you're doing and there's people around you. And I think the biggest thing we learned for a long time, it was the people around us were really important. We were kept going by other personalities, just that kind of very social kind of aspect. Um, and there's which has been brilliant. But then people move and change. But then also people bring ideas as well. And I think for us, that idea that the importance of those ideas and listening and collaborating.
yeah,
Collaboration's a huge thing, and we would working with other artists' ideas, bringing our own ideas to things, and we would do, our various times our own projects with other artists. So, more artwork, but we go off to Berlin and take out guerrilla art projects where we'd be sticking up boxes full of polystyrene balls that made a mess in Berlin and up, with the idea of
brilliant,
making a mess in Germany where they're
brilliant.
very tidy and they're
Yeah,
like
yeah,
this. And
yes,
it's having fun. And a
yeah,
lot of it was having fun
yeah,
with art and creativity. So there was that side. And so the people in the community really important. And there's but also I think it's also knew that we needed to have legacy, and I'm really wanting that cornerstone. So we've really learned that actually when we've done the capital project, we're here in Patrick Studios, we've got a building, it's a base, we're a
yeah,
charity, it's bought, it's done. No one's going to take this off
yeah.
us.
Brilliant.
and it's our little corner of the world. And
Yeah.
it's like and in Leeds, that's been a real issue over the last few years because Leeds is grown and expanded and all the gaps are being filled and it's got really tight and rigid
Yeah.
and you're seeing the loss of creative spaces. Um, it's something that you kind of we really appreciate that we managed to get a building and now have multiple buildings.
Yeah.
Uh, at the time we did, we were quite lucky. We were quite
Yeah.
lucky to be around at that time and to so it's not necessarily all about the planning and the management. It's being in the right place at the right time. And you can't ever mitigate for that. It's just
No, I think you're right. I mean, I think it's sensible to plan to have, or at least have goals that you want to head
yes,
towards. But I think, being reactive and being capable of reaction. One of the quotes we talk about quotes a bit later on, but one of the quotes I found when we were doing lots of webinars in lockdown to help and support people. There's a great quote from Charles Darwin from the book Origin of Species. So talk about evolution, and in it he says something like, I'm paraphrasing, but it's not the strongest or the most intelligent of the species that survive, but the ones that are most adaptive to change.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think that's so relevant to business. Obviously, in COVID and lockdown, it was so relevant. But it is like take advantage. There's an opportunity here. Let's take advantage of it. If we're
yeah.
not fast enough to do so, somebody else probably will.
And do you know what I learned? One of the other things I've learned along the way is to say yes.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, me
It's
too.
just say yes, and we'll work it out later. Or do you want to
Absolutely.
come to yes? And
Absolutely.
it's you kind of and then because you've always got scope to say, oh, okay, no, it's
Absolutely. I think a lot of people forget that ultimately it's only when you've actually, let's say, signed on the dotted line or done whatever,
yeah,
but yeah, but the reverse is it's done. As soon as you say no, that's it, it's finished.
yeah,
So
yeah, and
why wouldn't you give it a go? I think Richard Branson's got a phrase around that that's very similar. Just whatever happens, say yes, and then work out what the hell you're going to
yeah,
do to make it happen.
and I think and one of the other things I learned along the way was and this came from working with talking to Jude Kelly and Maggie Saxon over at Playhouse, and it was the idea that you've got to be on the roundabout, and you you kind of for that time when we were looking for a building, we were talking to loads of people, and there's often a reticence in, particularly for us in the visual arts and artists, we hear that not wanting, worrying people are going to pinch their ideas or they're going to lose their IP or something.
Yep,
And it was so important that the idea of being on the roundabout. And you've got to stay on the roundabout. You've got to talk to everyone over and over and keep on going round the roundabout until almost the stars align and you can
yep,
get off the roundabout because you don't know how many times you're going to have to go round for the right people but to be in the right place
yep.
at the right time to make that thing happen. And if they don't know about it, they're never going to know about you and your
No,
idea.
absolutely. Absolutely, and I think I'm not sure it's specifically relevant to art, but I think in terms of innovation, invention, a lot of people are so terrified of people. I've got this great idea,
Yeah,
and I don't know who said it, but been said many times in in the inventing world, if you like. It's they think it's the inventors think it's 90% invention, 10% effort. It's actually 10% invention, 90% effort. So
yeah,
somebody knowing about your idea isn't going to make it happen. It's only your desire to make it happen that makes it happen.
yeah,
And I think you just need to, but because I mean, one thing I do believe in the business world, and I think it's probably along the lines you've described, is collaboration is way more valuable than competition.
yes, totally.
Find it, and if you're borrowing, if you do end up borrowing an idea or two from somebody else, it's still it's still how you've interpreted that situation, I would suggest.
Yeah, and kind of things are, almost. nothing's unique and no one's
Yes,
not thought about it already.
absolutely.
It's just who's actioned it and actually brought it forward as a to offer it as a thing.
Absolutely. I mean, I know we're going off beat, but I wouldn't at any
Yeah,
point
no.
compare art to business. But most of my belief is most of the best business thinking, and was actually developed in the 1920s and 1930s. It's that long ago. People like Henry Ford, the Carnegies, a whole bunch of people would um, now as a business coach, what we do, I think our point of difference is presenting what are quite complex ideas that have come from the 20s and 30s, 40s into a more simple way. We use a lot more diagrams and stuff that can
Yeah.
explain a complex thing. So that's our point of difference. It's not the knowledge; it's actually the presentation and communication of the knowledge that I think we're really good at. If that makes sense.
I totally, I mean, that is, I can ping off on several things here you're saying, because that is absolutely one. And we're going off piste, and I will.
All good.
Because it's really interesting because I'm battling with that at the moment, and I was going to touch on it. I don't know where it was going to come in, but one of the things that has happened over the years for me is, I couldn't write. I couldn't write. I'm not. I can write, obviously, and I
Yes.
can do things, but give me a blank sheet of paper and I'll get about two paragraphs in and then stop because
Right.
I can't get beyond that.
Yeah.
And it was a real problem for me. And I know I've always had a kind of visual language. I can look at things and
Yes.
you show me an object or a thing or a machine, and I can kind of tell you how it's put together and made
Yeah.
without really investigating much further. But it it was about 3 years ago I was diagnosed as ADHD, and it was kind of a revelation because I lived with this kind of, oh, there's something wrong with me
Mm,
throughout my life.
right.
This perception that was slightly stupid. I couldn't do English. I couldn't,
Yeah.
I couldn't write. But and I've carried it for the, what am I now? I'm almost 60 and been carried that for, the best part of 50, 55 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And you you suddenly realize, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
And it's just, oh, wow. And part of that is the need to know why I'm drawing everything and I'm doing diagrams to draw everything and explain things to staff and stuff through this method. And there's been a real explosion or acceptance of that recently, I think, of that kind of, this is a way that a lot of people work.
But
And
I think it's something like 40% of the population restore and therefore recall information as pictures. Visual, they are
yeah,
visual people, and so it's nuts that we don't do that. And I've got a couple of people. One of my clients who's a very close personal friend now. He literally not. This sounds a bit, but it's almost like he can't speak unless he's drawing something.
yeah,
He's doing this. It's literally so like so I wouldn't even ask him to have a conversation unless he's got a flip chart or
yeah.
something going on.
So,
And
so I've been using a lot of that in terms of, trying to work out how where the to describe what direction the organization's going, how we're developing,
yes,
and to look at our whole, evaluation and monitoring and everything, which we're looking at and going down a whole, looking at a kind of the th theory of change model of how the organization has an impact or demonstrates its impact of the work we're doing.
brilliant,
So
brilliant. As a matter of interest, are you familiar with? Do you use any form of mind mapping?
I do quite a lot. I do like quite a lot of mind mapping and stuff, and that whole, linking things and
Yeah,
drawing things together, and that being the way to develop stuff out. And and I'm terrible. I've done, the usual neurodiverse. I go through different applications at a rate of knots, trying to use different techniques, and it's I have to really control myself. And it's like, right, no, no, we're sticking with this now, John. No more. We will try. Oh, this looks interesting, and it's kind of like,
No, I get that.
uh, and it's good. And I'm kind of honing down, and it's it. This is part of the other side of business, I think, and because we are a business, we're a charity business. We've got
Yep,
to make a surplus. Ideally, we'd make a surplus.
yep,
So we've got to balance the books, and we're doing quite complicated projects. And I'm not working alone. I've got exec director who came on a couple of years ago or so, Anita Kumari. She came from the New Art Exchange in Nottingham to us, which was fantastic. So there's two of us heading it up, but there's you've still got to hit the bottom line, and
yeah, yeah,
we have to think about businesses, and there's a whole side of growing a business that we didn't know. We've made it up. We've learnt it on the hoof.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You cobble things together, and we're still, and you do know what? We're still doing that. I embrace the term live action learning. It's a
yeah.
permanent
Like
live
it.
action learning state
I
we're in,
like it.
and it's and I think once well, I hope others around me, once you release yourself from that idea that we've got to be fixed and
Yeah,
you no, you've got to be
nothing's
flexible.
fixed.
No,
Nothing's fixed in the world. I mean, it's like it was crazy to try and be fixed because everything is changing all the time, and
yeah,
that I don't know that old phrase, something like the only constant is change or something like that.
yeah,
That's the key thing. Um,
yeah,
I think you're familiar with the fact that we're a business coaching organisation, John. I'm keen to
yeah.
know the best coaches you've worked with, whether that's business, sport, life in general. Who's had the biggest impact on you?
I mean, we've worked with a lot of people over the years, and you know, we've always had a board of directors, and they're good. Um, I think some of them have been actually other artists.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
and there's a couple that they're Dutch, and one of the things we've always is go and see. We've always done a go and see, and we've always travelled to other cities to go and look at art scene. Myself and Karen don't have your traditional. We don't have kids, which again is it's often not recognised, but I think that's something around this. We don't have kids. We've been able to live and breathe the organisation as
Yeah.
it's grown,
Yep.
and it 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 has been, the focus, and so we have that kind of luxury. Um, and we've gone to other cities, and so our holidays are going exploring sort of other art spaces and
Brilliant.
going to see the big sort of Biennale shows around Europe and things.
Brilliant.
And that And we've always taken it to the artist led. And so it's like finding yourself down a back alley somewhere in Berlin, going up a set of stairs, and suddenly open to this space where you've got 16 artists who've got a
Amazing.
show and a right. And it's amazing. And we met a couple of artists in Rotterdam, and Jana van Heijswijk, she did a project in Leeds, and was just very inspirational in terms of her attitude of what art could be. And I think that's a big thing, what art and artist could
Mm.
be. And that's kept us going ever since, is that opening up of the perception that artists are just there to create pictures, sculpt things. But actually, I've always seen our creativity as something I run an organization. I'm an artist. I run this organization. Its turnovers the normal year's 1.5 million. And but we're doing a capital project at the moment in Keighley. It's 3.5 million, which will open in the end of March, it's an art centre working with an
Wow.
organization there, Keighley Creative.
Brilliant.
And it's how far we can go. I'm interested in town planning. I'm interested in placemaking. It's how we work with councils and local authorities because we run spaces all over the country.
Yeah,
At the moment, we've probably got about 50 temporary spaces that we work out of across the country, and that can be
yeah,
and they're commercial properties that we go in and we take them over for periods of time. We're allowed to be in there working with landlords and we open those spaces up so artists can go in and use them. So a lot of the time we facilitate this kind of idea. And the longest we've been in one is in Middlesbrough, where we've been in a temporary space for, oh, let's see, 16 years. So you kind of, there is this, which is longer than some
yeah.
permanent
Oh,
spaces
yeah, absolutely.
around.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's, and it's how we develop that and turn that around. So that's our kind of real skill. And that's, I think about being creative and there is something I did Goldman Sachs 10,000 business course
Yes, brilliant.
oh God, decade or more ago, I think. Um, and I was probably the only arts organization on the cohort there, but the real message was like how much business is looking for creative input and creative ideas, and
Yes.
it's because they can't function without it.
Yeah, yeah.
They've got to have it. And so I think there's a perception that how artists, I think it comes from from themselves, that
Yes.
they don't perceive themselves as having a creative talent that can be uh, adapted or can be used at other areas in the same way that they're putting it to a painting. They have exactly the same skills that they can be put to all sorts of other activities that are
Yes.
really appreciated and needed. So I think there's a real undervaluing of that within society of what artists are doing and can do that actually we all know with the kind of
Yes.
culture and lifeblood of so much stuff. It's like, wow. Um,
Absolutely.
so that yeah, so that was Jana Van Eyck opened that up, and another artist, Camille, over in Verushen, who again was setting up his own spaces in Rotterdam and setting up. And one of the biggest things he did, he took on 100 empty houses in South Rotterdam and turned them into artists' live workspaces. And
Well,
it was like, oh my God. And it's that level of ambition. And
yeah, yeah. Incredible.
he taught us that yes.
Brilliant.
Just say yes
Yeah.
and we'll work it out
Yes.
later.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's a great, I mean, that is a great quote. Was there any other favorite quotes or sayings you picked up over time that you use a lot?
I was thinking about it. It was like mine are a bit more tongue in cheek. I really like the Bill Shankly one, aim for the sky and you'll reach the ceiling. And it's like, yeah, that's well, we're going to get there. And utterly, it's like you take it which way you like. It's the Father Ted. Whenever I'm sat in a room with some finance people, I'm always saying that money was only resting in my account. It's just like any time I'm around money people, it comes out. I can't help it. It's
Oh,
just
love it.
Father Ted, great. Yeah,
Oh yeah, I know, absolutely, absolutely brilliant. I mean, really was great, and well,
yeah.
great. Yeah, no, that's I like that one. There's only rest of my cat. And similarly, any favorite books or podcasts you can recommend?
Um, there was an ADHD one, which was the podcast stuff uh ADHD for adults, which was really useful for me. I liked it. It was a bit
Yeah,
chaotic and nuts, and that really suited me. I tried all sorts of stuff, and then I think for my work and stuff and where we're at as an organization, I mean, we're quite political, so I've just had it here, the name of it. So there's the Invisible Doctrine, which is by George Monbiot,
Yeah,
and really looking at neoliberalism and how it's really taking society to pieces and is really skewing where we are now and what's going on in the world. And on the, for us, that's also important. We've had a lot of involvement with looking at Palestine and what's going on there. Myself and Karen and a friend went out in November. We went out
right,
to Jerusalem, Ramallah, and Bethlehem, visited Ada camp there, which is, you call it a refugee camp next to Bethlehem, which is quite amazing. It's just it's a city, it's a suburb of a city. It's incredible, and because it's been there since it's 58 years or something.
oh
That's
my
how
goodness, wow,
so you don't and really get involved in the politics there. There's a genocide happening 50 miles away, and you it's being there, and it's really important for us to put our feet on the ground and bear witness to this kind of
yes,
happening. And we're developing links. We've always had links with the Leeds Palestinian Film Festival here, and that's really enabled us to go. And we're also developing links with Birzeit University in near Ramallah and the Palestinian Museum there to look at projects and artists that can come back and just raise the profile of these people because Ramallah was quite unbelievable. It's a vibrant city. It's wealthy. It's got hipster areas. But it's also surviving in quite a in such a authoritarian kind of impossible
mm,
situation. And and I think it's the media that we're given really plays with that. So being on the ground, it just changes your perception utterly.
yes,
And it's how we work with that. I think my other book, which I've always found interesting, is The Starfish and the Spider. And I can't remember who it's
oh,
by. And
we'll set
it's
out, no problem.
and it's about it's the idea of how, and this again for us as East Street, because we're very much about supporting artists and their practices and doing projects and doing murals and street art and etc. And it's the idea that it's not just about the difference between starfish and the spider. The spider, you break its legs off, and you've got this idea of something growing with its legs. And if you break one off and then you break another off, the spider's eventually going to die because it's got no legs. Whereas the starfish, you break off a leg of a starfish,
Yeah,
it grows another starfish.
yes,
And and so this idea of how do we work with organizations and
yeah,
artists in other cities. So the one I was talking about in Keighley, really it's about how they become an independent, solid organization. And it's not just another East Street Arts um, project. It's saying same other ones we're supporting Middlesbrough, Grimsby, Barnsley we're working in at the moment. It's that we're over at Manchester Way, Stockport, working with an organisation, Grit over there. And it's that development of artists being allowed to start up, test some ground, making safe spaces for artists to test some ground, test some ideas, come
yes,
together, develop their practices, get the confidence. And this is particularly the one in Keighley, where they've gone from that. They went in a temporary space there. It's one of our temporary spaces we were running. Group of artists, set up as an organization, became a charity, had a board really connected in with the local community, and the business community in Keighley, they went for levelling up funds to buy and refurbish the building that we were as a temporary space. They got as far as they could get. We went in and have then taken it on to the next phase to completion where they'll come back into the space. So it's really that's great because for me that's like the perfect cycle, this pop-up
Yeah,
stay up.
yeah. Brilliant.
And and the other interesting, it's not arts money. This is leveling up money. This is community money, and
Right.
they will make a massive difference in Keighley because
Brilliant.
it's great, and we see I see it every day happening all around these little towns, and
Yeah.
that which takes me full loop back round to that idea of Leeds squeezing people out, more full Leeds, but I see it as that benefit that if that's me, I'm going out to another town. I'm going to go and set up a
Yeah.
project in Bingley. I'm going to go out. I'm going to go out to Bradford, or I'm going to go somewhere else and do
Yeah.
it. And
Brilliant.
and I think that's what it's Leeds' loss, but it'll be a gain for somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can see that. Brilliant. Um, and so thinking about the future a little bit then, John, what does the future look like for you guys? And what challenges do you think you might face, if any?
Um, I think for East Street Arts, we always have to think about making sure we're relevant, making sure we're keeping relevant with what we're doing.
Yep.
We the work we're doing, some of it's kind of is really kind of strategic. We're looking at becoming a creative land trust ourselves,
Yep.
which we are essentially. We'll just frame ourselves within that idea and how we actually do become more recognized for taking on these spaces and being there for and
Yes.
setting up projects. Um, Money is always an issue. You know, you don't know what's almost around the corner every day. You know, you can go from governments talking about getting rid of the Arts Council, which would be disastrous. Uh, you've you've always got to be thinking about how you retain staff, how you could, and that was, I suppose that's something. It's like you can have as a kind of the best and worst staff, and and the best staff and the worst staff may all leave you. You can't retain the best staff if you just haven't got the avenues for them to travel into,
Yes.
and you haven't got the money or the the hierarchy to go it. We operate a really flat structure. It's
Yeah.
really tight, and you there's you have to recognize. In many ways, we have to recognize ourselves as a, a, a development kind of organization that we
Yes.
develop people and they go on, which they
Yep.
have done. And the staff have gone on to run, well, Leeds Leeds 23 Year of Culture. The second in command there was Emma, who left us and moved on to there,
Right.
and Bradford 25 was made happen by Nicola, who had also been with us and went over and made sure she left and went to
Brilliant.
Bradford and made sure Bradford 25 got that money into the city. So it was we see ourselves very much as development and influential in that way.
Brilliant.
For myself, and it's kind of how do you keep it interesting? How do you keep it interesting and
Yes.
what's next?
Yep.
And I think we're about to move away from Leeds personally, myself and Karen. Going to go move to Scunthorpe. That's a new challenge. The house
Brilliant.
was there. We had to go, got to rebuild it more or less inside out.
Brilliant.
Uh, but that is also going to be a challenge for me because I will be traveling.
Yes.
I'll be commuting,
Yeah.
but also, I'll have a different perspective on Leeds, and I
Yep.
will be where I'll be in one of the places that I've been going out and working in and saying, this needs an art space or a set of
Yeah,
an artist community here. And we'll actually be in that place. And that is quite exciting in many ways
brilliant.
to go
That
and
is
do.
that is exciting, isn't it? Really, whole new change and whole new, as you said, but whole new perspective. Perhaps just because you're further away, or just
Yeah,
that geographic difference should, could make a difference to you.
yeah.
And final question: what would be the best advice you could give an 18-year-old you if you could go back in time and do that job?
Oh, I was oh, and we were laughing in the office because I was saying one of the other staff said, "What were you doing when you were 18, John?" And I said, "Do you know what, Louise? I was just completely off my trolley. Uh, you would, yeah, I was pretty off my trolley. And, I was signing on and I was in York, I was in the alternative scene and, and, it was pretty raw. And, and I got back into this, I left school at 16 and went to the tech college to do art. And I was asked to leave after 3 months because I wasn't doing anything. And I didn't go back for another 18 months. And I was saying, and I don't know whether I should say this or not, but I tried to steal a National Express coach in the centre of York when I was like 18 or something. And thank God I couldn't find the handbrake. Um, but I was arrested and I went to court and I was and the solicitor said, "Oh, you should go back to college. You should pick up going to college again because then it can be seen as a student prank." And it and and I did, and Crown Court, and it was kind of thrown out straight away. But that was the start of coming back, and it was that whole thing of that. In many ways, I feel like everything's been done for a certain reason. I'm
Yep,
less. It's easy for me now to sit there and in hindsight sit and look back and said, oh, well, that was all for a reason. Because then if I didn't do that, I hadn't done that,
yep,
I would have ended up in Harrogate and I wouldn't have ended up meeting Karen and we wouldn't have done East Street and I wouldn't be here now sat
yeah,
talking to you.
absolutely.
And so I'm not saying you almost couldn't do anything wrong. Just don't do something too bloody wrong
Absolutely.
that really sends you off the edge. And
Yes,
but embrace that life and those educated risks, and because
brilliant.
those are the things that'll stand you in good stead.
Brilliant. Love it. Great advice. I think it's bang on. It's easy to be safe. That
Yeah,
it's easy. It is, and it's okay to be safe. But most of the growth happens outside your comfort zone, which is a good phrase, which I love.
yeah. And I
And
and I don't envy kids today, and I don't envy them
no,
the world that they're in, the social media they're in. We lived in our own bubbles back then, and
that's very true.
they have so much peer pressure I and so much screen staring. I'm a victim of it as well. We all are, I think, but it's also quite sad to see, and it's because
Yeah,
there's everything's in many ways lived by proxy and a tick box rather than just embracing life and just going out and
yeah,
trying something that nobody knows about
yeah,
because nobody knows you're there or cares really,
yeah.
and you're doing it for yourself rather than what
Yes,
than ticks and likes and
yeah.
whatever's.
No, I couldn't agree more. Lucky to have grown up without social media. I think.
Yeah.
Um, John, it's been fascinating to talk to you this afternoon. Thank you so much for sharing a lot of all your experiences, your knowledge, etc. And for anyone that would like to get in touch with you or East Street Arts, what's the easiest way to do that?
Most ways it's just to do a search, uh, on all those social media things that we,
Great. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that is just at East Street Arts, and it's Instagram. Uh, it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all those is just
Brilliant.
history. But yeah, our website and just I think there's links for emails and stuff there. So yeah,
Brilliant.
absolutely.
Well, it'd be great to swing by another 6, 12 months and just see what the next stage of development is. But for now, thank you so much for your time.
Cheers, Chris. That's been great.
Thank you.